होता है मेरे दिल को आभास। तू ही तो है मेरे आस पास, होता है मेरे दिल को आभास। बजता मन में यही एक सांस, बाबा तुम हो मेरे पास। बाबा मीठे बाबा, प्यारे बाबा, मेरे बाबा। तेरे संग का हुआ ये असर, तेरे संग का हुआ ये असर। आसान हुआ है जीवन का सफर, मुझसा कोई खुश किस्मत कहा, भगवन हुआ है मेरा हम सफर। सफल हो रहा है मेरा हर प्रयास, तेरी रहमतों का है मुझ पे प्रकाश। बजता मन में यही एक सांस, बाबा तुम हो मेरे पास। बाबा मीठे बाबा, प्यारे बाबा, मेरे बाबा।
Om Shanti, Sister Jayanti.
Om Shanti.
Okay, great. We can hear you.
Good.
Yeah, so welcome to everyone. We've just had another fantastic retreat here at the retreat center. Another, I think, 65, 67 teachers from around Europe. About, in total, 35 countries attended. And the program was a perfect balance of workshop and classes, bhattis, reflection. And we had a beautiful Rakhi last night. So it was a perfect program, really. And everyone was so appreciative this morning. So just to say about the Murli, which is on purity and Gambhirta, as you had mentioned, the definition, Sister Jayanti, which is kind of quiet and mature and sensible and many qualities. So once what happened is that Mama, well, many times, not just once, but many times Mama would come back from Seva in different parts of the world, in Kanpur, in North India, South India. And they'd ask her, Mama, how was the Seva? And she'd say, Achhi thi, means it was good. And everyone with her, or people who returned with her, would say, but it was excellent, it was extraordinary, it was special. And yet Mama would just keep it so low key, so quiet. And this is how, as Baba said, Mama accumulated points because she didn't boast about it, and no arrogance of that seva. And the other thing I was remembering is that Dadi Janki always used to say that she has two children. The two children are Sukh and Shanti, which is peace and happiness. Why? Because she has the mother, and the mother is purity. And so we are the same. We are the mother of purity, and we have Sukh, Shanti as our children. Thank you, Sister Jayanti.
Om Shanti. Yes, thank you, Ernaben. And it's a beautiful day in the English countryside with a blue sky and cotton wool clouds and sunshine and the trees moving in the breeze. It's just gorgeous. Somebody called it a taste of Satyug, and others spoke about coming from the desert into paradise. So it's really a very beautiful setting, the beautiful souls here, the team, tireless, but also everyone who came really contributed to the yoga power. The bhattis were really, really full. So enough of that. And yes, a powerful Murli from Baba. And Baba's not shy of telling us exactly what's going on. When people talk to each other, they can be a bit shy and they won't tell you everything, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But Baba is able to do that, the whole package and nothing but the truth. And so, as usual, beginning with a lot of love, the ocean of love coming to meet his children who come from so far away. And of course, what touched our hearts, I'm sure, was the fact that at the end, Baba mentioned that the body hadn't been too well. But Baba's love for the children was that they'd come from so far away. And he really wanted to meet them because he knew that they would come with such high expectations. And so how can he not meet them? And it was Baba's force, spiritual power, that allowed the body to actually get ready and come and be the chariot for Bap Dada to come through. Now, there you go. There's Dadi Gulzar's surrender to God, Bap Dada, both Shiv Baba, Brahma Baba, but also Shiv Baba's surrender to the children, that even though the body has to be used with extra power, yet the almighty authority is such that the children's love melts him and he comes. And so just imagine our amazing, amazing fortune that for years and years and years, 49 years actually, that Gulzar continued to be the chariot. That time span is actually quite incredible. And so Baba asking the children, where does God live? And you can give the answer, God lives with me. God is with me. And Baba saying that, yes, the children are with me, and the children say Baba's with us. And so the proof of that love, of that close bond and that connection, except that the children play games, they play hide and seek. And you must have watched children. And the time that I get to see a lot of children is at the airports, especially summertime when families traveling together. And nowadays you have to wait a long time at airports before the flight. And so I see children literally playing hide and seek. You don't need anything, you can just have fun. And so God's children also playing hide and seek. They hide themselves from the Father, but they open their eyes to Maya and close their eyes to the Father. And then it's only through remembrance that there can be the opening of the eye to recognize God. But otherwise, Maya manages very well to close our eyes so that we can't see God. But of course, God uplifts us and gives us happiness, and Maya brings us down and gives us sorrow. And so maybe sometimes when we've succumbed and we failed and we've come down, the sorrow again makes us realize that I've lost something very precious, and maybe that's what makes me start making the effort once more. So that first paragraph was about love, just God's love. And then further on, Baba spoke about, is it 100% love? Is it multi-million-fold love, 1,000-fold love, or just a little bit of love? How much love is there? So everybody said it's multi-million-fold love, 100% love. And then Baba asked a very important question. What is the proof of your love? Now that's the big one. I can say I love Baba, But what is the proof of that love? And the proof that Baba gave us was that, yes, we want to be equal to the Father, but also sacrifice. And in Lokik life, I know that sometimes there are stories in which it's said that when you fall in love, then absolutely you're ready to sacrifice your love, sacrifice your life for that love. And here, Baba doesn't want you to sacrifice your life because you need this body to do service. And so you have to do service. But then further, it's that Baba wants us to surrender to Baba. And the surrender means being obedient to the Father. And so then the whole question of Father Brahma, you want to be equal, they'll follow the Father. And Father Brahma has so many different qualities. And if you try and capture all of them, maybe you'll catch some of them, maybe not all of them. And so what is the most important aspect to follow Brahma Baba in? And Baba defined that as purity. And how when there is purity, then there's cleanliness, there's faith, and there's honesty. This is the proof of my love for Baba, that I'm following in Father Brahma's footsteps, and I have these three qualities within myself. So we often ask ourselves a question, well, what is purity? And so today we got a very, very clear answer of the definition of purity. And then Baba saying that, well, what about thoughts? Are your thoughts pure and elevated? And of course, that then becomes number wise. Am I able to have nothing but pure, elevated thoughts? Or am I having some waste thoughts? A little bit maybe, or sometimes. And I was saying that all waste thoughts have their origin in the vices. And check it out and you'll see that it's absolutely true. All the waste thoughts that I have that come from why, what, if, but, should be, shouldn't be, all of these, some ego maybe, some greed maybe, some attachment maybe, one of the vices are the root of this. And so Baba said, you know your own weakness. And so are you not ready to surrender that weakness? If that weakness is allowed to continue, then of course it's one of the vices and you'll have all these waste thoughts. And then you won't be able to attain perfection. And so within that also, Baba made it a further definition and said that waste thoughts such as what if, they arise either from the stage of ego, arrogance. I should be in charge. Why have I not been put in charge? I'm better than so-and-so. I can do this. And so those thoughts about name and fame and desires, now where's that going to take the soul? It isn't going to take the soul up, but it's going to pull it down. And then even this thought of inferiority, the bossiness and the ego, but then the other side. And on the other side then, but I should have been given this role. Why wasn't I allowed to do this? I could have done it equally. And so that desire, that wanting, instead of the contentment that Baba speaks of very often, now I'm into that arena in which I'm looking at others and wanting what they have, not thinking about qualifications or anything else, just my desire, my ego. And so either the ego or the stage of being so sensitive that I feel insulted. If I'm not given a role, if I'm not given a position, if I'm not included, if I'm not consulted. And so both sides of arrogance, up or down. And the stage of stability that comes in the middle with neither of those two things, that is the stage of purity that Baba wants me to have. And so can I maintain that stage in which I neither fluctuate up nor I go down? And Baba said, keep a chart, even for one day. That's it. Just check yourself for one day and see what's going on and how to be able to sort it out. Where are the thoughts of ego coming? Where are the thoughts of being defamed or insulted coming from? And it'll be a weakness that I have within myself connected with any one of the vices. And so to say to Baba, yes, I'm ready to surrender this. And it was a month of November in 1995. And of course, the meetings had already started in April in the tents, the marquees, 10,000, 12, 15,000. They sometimes went up to that. Then there's been a break, and then this Murli. And so Baba looking at the new year and saying, well, it's a couple of months still to go to the new year. And by the new year, you should have finished all waste thoughts so that then you have a fresh chapter that begins at the new year. Normally, Baba gave us homework at the start of the year, but this was Baba giving us homework at the closure of the year so that we could actually prepare ourselves for a new chapter, which is free from ego and also being insulted. And then Baba also spoke about, are you a pure soul or are you a weak soul? And if you're saying why and how and if and but and what, then you know the 84 birth cycle. Bring yourself in front of the students you teach. What do you teach them? You're teaching them 84 births. Look at the picture. It's the story of 84 births. You know all these secrets. And then you're still asking the question, why? But there's no reason. You understand the whole story. And so just keep that awareness and understanding, the past, present, and future. Whatever it is I did has brought me the situation today. And however I respond to the situation today is creating my future. So can I be totally aware of the cycle, especially what's going on in this period of confluence? And in that stage, then I will not have any more questions of why, if, and but, and what. And then I'll feel content and full. And then Baba said, sometimes you look at others and you say, but this one's a Maharathi, you're riding an elephant. And so how come they're behaving like this? They shouldn't be like this. That's not how Maharathis should behave. And Baba very sweetly pointing out, when someone's under the influence of Maya, then their behavior is not that of a Maharathi, then they are not a Maharathi at that time. They've stepped down from the elephant and they're now maybe walking on land. They may be a foot soldier, an infantry. But whoever it is, whatever it is I'm seeing, why is it that I'm drawn to that and I come down because of that? And so very, very important to remember that I know the secrets of the drama. And so I can never ask the question, why? I also know, if I know drama, there's something else I know. I know karma, because drama and karma both go together. And so knowing both together, then I say, okay, now I understand what's going on. And so no questions, totally content, no bad vision, no bad attitude, no bad words. I don't spoil the atmosphere with anything negative, but I keep my stage up above. I understand why and what and how. I don't need to let myself come down on any level whatsoever. And so Baba reminding us that when someone's under the influence of Maya, then of course it's not they that's speaking, but Maya is speaking through them. And so Baba teaching us to have compassion so that we're not influenced by others and whatever their stage is. So not in this Murli, but generally Baba would say that see the Father and follow the Father. Don't see anyone else. Don't listen to anyone else. Just see the Father. That's it. And Baba then speaking to two Dadis in particular, Dadi Chandramani and Dadi Ratan Mohini. And so 95 is the time that Gyan Srovar is just beginning. And Dadi Chandramani has been asked to be the champion for Gyan Srovar. And so Baba was saying how both of them are very special souls because Baba gave them the special gift of obedience. And in fact, no one ever said no to Brahma Baba. And always it was yes, because there was always trust that Baba knew exactly what was needed. And so Baba then reminding them that you said yes for responsibility, which is actually just a game. It's no big deal. And so they were very pleased to see both of them. And then Ishudadi. And Ishudadi was Baba's confidential secretary from the 50s. In Karachi, it used to be Dadi Prakashmani, the treasurer, and there wasn't so much correspondence or anything going on. But if there were a few letters here and there, then Dadi Prakashmani would be Baba's assistant for that. But now it was Shantamani Dadi who was the treasurer, but also it was then Ishu Dadi who was Baba's confidential secretary, and also the one who had such beautiful, clear writing. Sindhi writing's almost like shorthand. And so it was like pearls, a beautiful writing. And she would write the Murli. And earlier times, Baba would check it all to make sure she'd captured it all. But then later, of course, Baba said, yes, you've had enough practice, so carry on. And so then Baba just left it to her and the people who were going to reproduce the Murlis on litho. It was litho machines at that time, not press a button and it all happens nicely, cleanly. But no, it was ink and you rotated the wheel and all sorts of things. But it was fun and everybody worked hard and it turned out the goods. Everybody got their Murlis and they were posted off on time. So a whole big machine. But Ishu Dadi was the one writing because tape recorders came very late. That was 1964. And she was writing Murlis certainly from 1950 onwards. It was then that we needed to have a stock of Murlis to send out everywhere. Prior to that, in Karachi, they were all together. And so you didn't have Murlis flying across the continents in that way, but people just studying whatever they had in their notes from what Baba had said. And of course, when the center started, their question was to Baba, Baba, how can we hear the Murli? And so Baba then arranged the system of notes and then the litho, etc., etc. So Baba provided food to everyone through the Murlis. So she was Baba's confidential secretary. She was also the treasurer. And she used to go to the accounts office in in Shantivan, right almost till the end of her days. Just a few months before she flew away, Dadi Jayanti would ask, where is Dadi Ishu? And they'd say, oh, she's in the accounts department. So she was overseeing things as late as that. And then, of course, we lost Dadi Jayanti, we lost Dadi Gulzar, and then the same year we also lost Ishu Dadi. So they all went off very quickly. And we're lucky we still have Dadi Ratan Mohini. But Gambhir, think about a very deep well. Whatever you put into that well isn't going to come out. If it's a shallow well, you can fish it out. But a deep, deep well, it goes in and it doesn't come out. And so the secrets that she was hearing verbatim or through the letters that people were writing to Baba, because she read all the letters and gave Baba the summary and so on, whatever would go inside her would stay inside. It wouldn't be repeated to anyone at all. So she was Gambhir, very, very mature. And Baba was saying that that's what all of you need to be. This is a time in which it's not the time for talking. The impact that you will have on others through your Gambhirta, through this quality of introversion, maturity, then that impact of keeping things inside, not suppression, but making sure that you're happy and content, but nothing is coming outside in terms of what you've heard or seen or read. And so Ishudadi, truly that role of the one who had total maturity in that way. And Mama, of course, the one who had the role of doing so much, as Arunaben has mentioned, and yet no talking about it afterwards. It was good fun. She didn't want any acknowledgement, any praise, or people to know that she's done so much, all of that. So today, Baba saying that at the present time, all of us actually need to do the same, so that we also can turn within and we're able to draw help from Baba and do whatever is needed at that moment. So these were the main things that stood out for me from yesterday's Murli. And so I hand you over back to Arunaben.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jayanti. And I too love that point on wastage. On the one hand, Baba said that it's the waste thoughts that create anger, but then I was thinking it's the vices that create waste thoughts. Like peace, love doesn't create waste thoughts. And you can have so many of these thoughts and still it wouldn't be called waste because we know that they're beneficial. But anyway, the question now is, how can we become instruments to create waste thoughts in others?
I'll give you a very simple example. Somebody's left their notebook, and out of curiosity, I pick it up. I start reading it. It's there, Murli notes, nothing secret. So I pick it up and I start reading those notes and I find it interesting. And I think, okay, let me take this and have a look at it and I'll put it back again tomorrow. And meanwhile, the person who left their notebook there comes hunting. They can't find it. They thought that they'd left it on that table, but it's not there anymore. They begin to blame their memory. I must be getting old. I don't know what's happened to my memory. And then they can't find it and they give up. I have caused a huge amount of wastage in that person because I took the notebook without checking with them. And yes, sure, tomorrow I was going to give it back to them. And I do. But meanwhile, within that space of time, I've created a huge amount of wastage for another. Or I'm cooking the meal and I'm not giving proper attention to how I'm doing it. And I forget the salt. Simple thing, very simple, but I forget it because I'm preoccupied. Now, whoever's going to eat that meal, whether it's 2 people, 40 people, 400 people, they'll definitely have the thought that there's no salt in this. And so they have a lot of waste thoughts. And until somebody goes and finds the cook and explains and brings the salt from another place, whatever. But I can create a lot of waste thoughts in another through my behavior if I'm not accurately linked in yoga. If I'm linked in yoga, then things happen and I know how to sort it out and put it right without causing grief to anyone else. Just quickly sort it out and put it right. But today, we don't do that. We complain, and a lot of wastage.
Yes, I remember Dadi used to say, even to when you walk through the door, you just leave your shoes right at the door. So the next person who comes, they trip over your shoes. And there was a beautiful picture that came across WhatsApp, and it was a Buddhist monk, and he was taking off his shoes, and there were already another 50 sandals there, and each of the sandals were in a line, and he was just adding to that line, and the quote said, "Discipline in all areas of your life." So starting from even just placing your footwear properly, because we think it's all about here and big things, but it's the small things. Okay, so gentleman Baba said, make your thoughts pure, let them be filled with this knowledge and power. So I think we understand power. What does it mean to fill your thoughts with knowledge?
Am I thinking of Baba's Gyan through the day, Baba's knowledge through the day, or am I thinking of other wasteful things? If I'm thinking of wasteful things, my energy is coming down, and I'm not able to cope. But if I'm thinking of Baba and Baba's Gyan, today's Murli, my energy level rises and I can feel the power growing within myself. And so that's what it means.
Right, thank you. And Baba said that it's not really clear to us what is complete or definition of complete purity. Yeah. So what do you think we are missing?
I don't think we realize that waste thoughts also have the seed of vices. We think that we've dealt with negativity, and so I'm okay, I'm pure. But the seed of any one of the vices creates waste thoughts. And so Baba's saying that recognize waste thoughts are really bad, they're dangerous. They'll become a pattern, they'll tie you in bondage. And so when waste thoughts begin, before you think, ask yourself, what would be the result if I weren't on Zoom? And so let me, first of all, Zoom, daytime, whatever it is I'm doing, let me just check what is the quality of my thinking, what is the seed of where these thoughts are coming from.
Right. Is there any reason why Baba said attachment is last? Is it because we leave the body and that's the last test?
Yes, I was also thinking about that myself, that lust, the first, because it's so gross and it's the first thing that we have to deal with. And Baba commented on how Brahma Baba had to deal with the reactions because people started following purity. And the reaction of the community was so strong that he had to really battle against them with the power of non-violence. Battle wasn't a physical battle. And so lust, the first one, and attachment, so deep, so subtle. And yes, my attachment to others, but the last, my attachment to my own body. Do I want to stay here and continue? And yes, that can also be good if I'm leaving the body in Baba's remembrance and I'm going somewhere carrying those last thoughts of God's love and fragrance, but leaving others, that attachment, leaving possessions, So what is it that's still pulling me? I can check and find out that attachment is the last thing that I have to deal with. Nashta moha smriti labda. When I've really finished all attachments, then I'm going to be free. And there's remembrance of one and only one.
Lovely, thank you. And while we were in the retreat, Sister Jayanti, we talked about surrendering and the modern day surrender. And I think it was an interesting answer. Would you just like to maybe share a bit of that and elaborate why it's not so important to have surrender ceremonies as we did in the past, and what kind of surrender is expected of us living in the West? And it doesn't just have to be overt and glamorous as they do in India.
In India, they have to do it to fulfill the social contract, because parents' responsibility is to get their children, especially their daughter, married. And it has to be done in great style. And so you have a big gathering. And I was sharing how in Jaipur, they had a gathering of about 5,000 people. And the news got into all the newspapers in Rajasthan, in Jaipur itself, because it was such a big, glamorous occasion. But it's part of the role of parents, very definitely, to arrange a marriage for their children, especially the daughter. And so they go through this ceremony so that their relatives can see that the girl's made this choice to make God her bridegroom. She's going to marry God. And the parents offer a dowry and trousseau and everything for the young kid. But here, we don't have that sort of experience. In India, they have to go through a 5-year span of living in a center, and then they're able to surrender. And certainly in Jaipur, I saw girls who'd been living in a center 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, no one less than 8 years. So again, different there. But here, we tend to allow people to come and stay in centers without too many strings or conditions attached. And then whenever they feel they want to surrender, they can. Usually in India, it's very stringent conditions. Here, if somebody has that inspiration, we have a chat, but usually then we'll say that's fine. But the real surrender is a surrender of my heart, my surrender of my intellect and mind to Baba. It's not a physical surrender, it's a spiritual surrender. And when we used to have those ceremonies of 10 years in Gyan, 20 years in Gyan, 30 years in Gyan, I think it went up as far as that. And for me, it was quite embarrassing and it was not very comfortable. I know some people enjoyed it until today. Some people say, oh, can we have a surrender ceremony? And I say, what's the purpose? Surely Baba knows you belong to him and you know that you belong to Baba. And one of the reasons why I'm not really interested in these is that I saw so many who came to Baba, and today when I look at the photographs of the surrender ceremony, so many of them said, okay, I'm going on holiday, and they left Baba. And so to me, it's very clear that it's not necessarily something that's going to bring a soul closer to God or help them stay with God.
Right. And I haven't had one either. Okay, gentlemen, this question about Gambhirta. So an aspect of Gambhirta, this maturity, being introvert, quiet, means that you keep things to yourself, as Ishudadi did. How do you know that you're not suppressing? And what's the difference?
If I'm suppressing, then I feel sorrow, and it keeps coming up from time to time. But if I've dealt with it and I put it in front of Baba, now this is, say, my mistake. I put it in front of Baba and I've taken Baba's power to go through a transformation. It's not suppression. But yes, sometimes people do suppress and then it causes them a lot of heaviness and waste thoughts. And they feel that my connection with Baba is not so strong and they feel the sorrow as a result of that. So that's where things are not quite as they should be. But when my surrender to Baba is truly from my heart, then at that moment, it's just pure love. So I know that there's no suppression. I know it's all going to be fine.
Does an example come to your mind?
Yeah. Say I've made a mistake. I got angry today and I try and suppress it. And I say, I'm not going to think about it. It happened. It's drama. But it's still there and it's bugging me. And unless I deal with it and transform it, it's going to be an obstacle in my journey. And so let me put it in front of Baba and make a commitment that I'm not going to cause others sorrow through my anger. I'm not going to cause myself sorrow through that anger. I'm really going to be so attentive that I do not react. And even if people say, well, how come you're so silent? You're not giving me a response. It's okay. Better I don't speak than speak harshly. And so let me be very aware of what my reactions are and how I'm dealing with them. If I can say to Baba, Baba, my determined thought is that I will not explode in that way, or even it wasn't an explosion. It was a bit of negativity. I don't want this, and I'm not going to have this in my life.
So, gentlemen, what about things like when you are privy to some information and you're kind of withholding that information then in the name of being Gambhir? Do you understand? So should
Yes. Yes.
Should I say or not say, or how to engage?
Okay, here's a person who comes to share a story about their past with me. And I explain to them how to deal with it today. Maybe it's to seek forgiveness from someone. Maybe it's to say to somebody, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to be free now, whatever it is. If I've helped them deal with the situation and it's finished, I don't need to share it with anyone. Early days, and when Daddy was well and around, I would tell her everything. And I would tell her that so-and-so's requested privacy, but I feel that you, as one of the 8 jewels, needs to know. And in this case, now today, who do I go and tell? I wouldn't have anybody to speak to. And so I've heard it, and I've explained to that individual or 2 individuals, whatever it may be. And I see that, yes, there is a transformation happening in both. And so I say, okay, thank you, Baba. And I don't mention it. And they come out of that. And it's a wonderful transformation that I'm witnessing. And so that's good. So I didn't need to tell anybody. But if there's something that's connected with the yajna and it's going to be damaging for the yajna, my duty to the yajna is that I have to inform somebody who's senior to me, who can deal with it and sort it out.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to other questions. So one of the questions that's come to me, because Baba said today that it is the king who makes decisions, or he used to, when anyone committed a sin. And so the question is that what happens when a judge makes a decision, is he creating a karmic account when giving the judgment?
When the judge is truly impartial and has heard the whole story with attention, and with his wisdom, you see, reaching the status of a judge is not an easy thing. It's not every person who gets there. And so this person has a wealth of experience, a certain amount of wisdom, and is known for being impartial. So then whatever judgment the person makes in that role is not a karmic account for them. It's truly seeing that justice is being done. And of course, judges also make mistakes, as we hear sometimes through the media. But if it can be seen that the judge was benefiting by being partial in some way, giving one decision or the other, without using that total impartiality and wisdom and truth, then of course it's a karmic burden. But otherwise, totally clear and straight, impartial, then yes, there's no karma.
Right, thank you, that's clear. So here's a question that why is there cremation in the golden age, even though there's no body consciousness?
Finishing the past is important. And you don't even keep photographs in the golden age, Baba has told us. And so why would you want to keep a body and take up space? Because the earth is still precious, wherever it is, golden age or iron age. And yes, here we have a shortage of space. In the golden age, there's no shortage. But to dig the earth and just keep bodies there, it's not respectful to nature even. And so I'm sure that you don't want bodies to be buried. You want them to be finished, and earth returns to earth.
Mm. Yeah, actually, I had a question that I forgot to ask you. Do you feel that your closeness to Baba has changed over the years? Because Baba talked about closeness.
Definitely. I know that Daddy played a very important role in making sure that I would turn to Baba and be connected with Baba again and again. And otherwise, it was very easy to be totally dependent on her. But the classes she gave and the attention she gave to all of us who were connected with her, she would make sure that our attention was more the connection with Baba than dependency on her. And so, yes, I feel that especially today, when I remember the Gyan, I remember the classes, I remember the examples she gave, but there's no attachment there. There's appreciation and gratitude, but it's more that, yes, appreciation of the Gyan means I'm connected more with Baba.
Great. Baba said today that the mind becomes completely like a horse, and Maya blows your mind away. Maya too says, it is a wonder. How can anyone from my army go to the other side? So what is your definition of Maya blows your mind away?
It came in that, Murli, from yesterday also, the influence of Maya, where somebody is not able to discern clearly anymore. And so here my mind is in a storm, running around, going in a different direction to what I really want to do in terms of my life and destination, but I'm not able to stay on course. And so Maya has blown me off course and taken me in a storm in another direction.
Yeah, like a wave, he was saying that.
Mm.
Okay, so here's a question on suppression. So somebody's feeling that they feel that a part of them is suppressed because they'd love to study other things, they'd love to read other things, learn other things, but then Baba says only study the Murli. So what should they do?
It's not good to feel suppressed, So yes, if you want to read a book on self-development, go ahead and read it. And perhaps that will make you appreciate Baba's Murli even more. Because really, whether you've gone to a self-development course or you've gone to other things that you think may help you, or you've read other things, you come back to the realization that the detail of understanding that we have from Baba, nobody else has been able to achieve. And Baba's giving it all to us so naturally, so easily. And so we don't always appreciate how profound it is and how much of a whole total understanding Baba's given us of all the secrets of the universe. So if to satisfy my curiosity, I want to read other things, definitely don't go to reading novels. That's just crazy because your mind will just get blown off course. But read some books on self-development. There's a lot of gurus out there. So try it if you wish.
So there's a question here about feeling guilty. But I will just add to that our conversations from the core group that we were having. And so somebody was saying there's guilt around maybe wasting money, or guilt around, of course, when we do something wrong. But in general, Sister Jayanti, why is there this feeling of guilt? We haven't even committed the sin yet. It's just the thought, and it's not even such a bad thought, but the guilt kind of overpowers you. So can you explain a bit about what's going on there? And the other thing I remember we discussing is that we shouldn't avoid these feelings. So then if we are to face these feelings, how to face these feelings?
Where I haven't yet committed any sin, but it's just thoughts in my mind, why I feel guilty is because I know that those thoughts are wrong. And I also know that even my thoughts create karma, whether it's thoughts of attachment, thoughts of greed, it emerges those feelings that may well take me down that road. And I know that it's wrong. And so the guilt comes in a very natural way to caution me that, okay, the thought is there, but I shouldn't go down there. That's why I feel guilty. And when these thoughts come, I have to just simply remember that this is an illusion. Wanting to go here to find happiness, wanting to go there to have some attention or glory. What's the point? That's not why I came to Baba. And so I need to have a good conversation with myself and ask myself, well, is this going to take me to my destination? Or even before that, but what truly is my purpose? What is my destination? And then, well, is this going to help me come closer to my destination? And probably not. And so I'll begin to recognize that this is an illusion and say, okay, Om Shanti, finish. I don't want to go down that road.
And Sister Jayanti, maybe the last question. Again, you mentioned very nicely about what Baba used to say about playing the game. So would you like to repeat that answer? Everything's a game.
Baba's message to a group of us during Global Cooperation Days, because it was a very new experience for us to come together and discuss things from different perspectives, globally, how things would work in one place or another place. And sometimes the ideas were very, very different. And so a message came from Baba. We'd gone to Madhuban and Baba sent us a message via Dadi Gulzar. And Baba said, because of course, then feelings also get in the way and all of this. So Baba's message for us was, when you're playing with a ball, football or any other ball game, sometimes you hit the ball And sometimes the ball hits you on your shin, on your ankle, and you feel pain. But you don't say, I'm going to leave the game simply because I feel the pain of having been hit by the ball. And so in service also, there'll be different situations, but it's a game. And so don't threaten and say, well, I can't do this anymore. I'm going, I'm leaving. No, just accept it's a game. And so sometimes the ball will hit you instead of you hitting the ball.
Yeah, lovely. I hope we can do it all the time.
Just keep thinking about it as a game.
Okay, thank you so much for all these sessions. Just to let everyone know that for the next few weeks, we will not be having revision. Other things are happening. And so everyone can have a little break. And as soon as we're able to resume, we'll let you know. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sister Jayanti. Let's end with some meditation.
Thank you, Arunaben. Thank you to everyone. It's been lovely to have been with you. And yes, let's be with Baba.
The seasons come and they go, changing over time. Leaves will grow and fall, the cycles of life. But you are the constant, ever in my life, guiding me on. And the thought of you brings so much joy. The thought of you brings me home. The thought of you brings me to my knees, knowing there's so much more. Knowing there's so much more. How may I serve?
And yes, wishing everyone a very happy Raksha Bandhan. Rakhi fever has started, so enjoy.